people kind of manifesting these untrained responses, which leads to injuries, prolonged fights, and the phrase that I always tell people, I've been saying it forever, and it's my buddy Cliff uses it all the time as well. I'm not sure if he came up with it or whatever, but it's a very important phrase, and I like to share with people. Ineffective force always looks like excessive force.
Okay.
So if the force you're using doesn't work, it's always going to look like you're using too much force.
Yeah, very true. I know that we had an IPCC report published a couple of years ago here in the UK that basically one of the findings in it was they surveyed lots of people who had witnessed police use of force, including officers and so on, but what they found was that if the public saw a police officer striking a suspect, that the impression they would have of that incident is that the officer had lost control. Meaning, we see this all the time, don't we? When we review video that hits YouTube, is that when an officer doesn't efficiently deal with things, it's generally just assumed that he's incompetent and he probably did the wrong thing in the first place, or in the second place.
Really, the biggest thing about this is it's not so much that the officers are. And I talk about this extensively in all my instructor courses and trainers courses, is when you are taught something, there is cognitive dissonance present in everybody that's had any police training whatsoever, especially training to deal with violence. You, at an instinctive level, understand what real violence is, and you know how it works. The moment people start teaching you tactics that don't work, and you might not be able to have the wherewithal to consciously assert that, but your subconscious knows that what you just saw demonstrated is not going to work in a real violent situation, And the moment that happens, you automatically, so now you've been trained to do X, Y, Z. Your subconscious knows that's not ever going to work, and now you're found, or you show up to a violent situation. There's going to be hesitation. There's going to be extra fear, extra anxiety, and it's not really your fault. Your department, your unit has taught you a bunch of bunk, and now none of it's going to work. So your brain and your survival system is asserting to you, hey, you have no equipment to deal with this right now.
And so you see these very primal behaviors coming out, maybe.
Exactly.
Mid-fight. I mean, we talk about instinctive protective responses and so on at the beginning of the fight and maybe in the middle of the fight, but when it comes to engagement, you'll see whatever instinctive things the person thinks they can rely on, which might be...
And almost always looks bad.
Right.
Yeah.